Welcome to Pop Byte number 5. It is our mini-sode about Chernobyl, the HBO show. And this is, of course, in a series of mini-sodes where we talk about things that cannot just wait until our weekly show. So welcome back, our Twitter master.
Oh my God. Okay.
Pop culture master. Hindi na niya ako aawayin.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I accept it. Hello, Emil Hofelenia. Hello.
It's Emil Hofelenia, the Twitter pop culture master.
Okay, Cholo.
Anyway.
You're the one with the radio show.
Anyway, let us begin. This is about Chernobyl, which I found out from Emil.
Oh, really?
His very first pop stop. We didn't call it pop stop.
Oh, really?
Then.
Is that right?
Yeah, because you were like, I'd recommend Chernobyl after Game of Thrones because what else can you watch after Game of Thrones?
On HBO, yeah.
This is a really good show. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And then he was right because he's the master.
Oh, okay. Let's not make this about me. But yes, Chernobyl. Like, HBO is very well known for producing really good miniseries, like all the way back from like Band of Brothers, and this became like the next big thing after Game of Thrones.
And right away, it became the number one show on IMDb,
which is ridiculous. I mean, like, not ridiculous because it doesn't deserve it, but ridiculous because it happened so quickly.
And that's crazy. I mean, I guess people were just really sad about Game of Thrones ending.
People were willing to give up the crown.
And even the podcast has like 3,000 ratings for a 5-episode podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Chernobyl is about, of course, the Chernobyl incident that happened in 1986. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the mid 1980s. I don't remember.
Let's just say that. And it's a 5-episode miniseries that shows what happened. Well, it will first bring you to the experience of what happened that night, but it will slowly piece together each piece for you to figure out what really happened. Because in the beginning, you're like, okay, how will I get into this show that's just about like
it's
a nuclear
historical
accident.
Drama, and it's like every episode is over an hour long, but then next thing you know, it's just like
you're just so hooked into it.
But it's like this. It's not hooked in the sense that it's fun is not the operative word when it comes to Chernobyl. It's not quote unquote fun to watch, but it's just like when you watch a horror movie and you're just fascinated because this is like real life horror. And
that's the horror of it all. Yeah, it happened in real life.
It's so hard to believe that it happened when you think about the fact that somewhere in Russia there is a piece of land that is literally nothing can live there anymore. It's horrible. Like
it's crazy. Yeah. And it's so fascinating, but it's so sad at the same time. Yeah. And that is what you get when you watch Chernobyl. Of course, the show is created by Craig Mazin. I'm not so sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah, sorry.
A white guy.
Hey, well, yeah. And what's been interesting about his career is that people have made it known that his career has been like a string of really bad comedies. He wrote like the sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman.
Did he?
Yeah, and then this is the first time he's gotten like a legit hit and people are embracing it talaga. So just keep working at those scripts and eventually you're gonna get a good one. So
and each episode is actually directed by just one one director, si Johan Rank.
Yeah, who is also who's well known also for directing episodes of Breaking Bad, of like different other shows, but yeah, this is I think the first time he's gotten a whole project to himself. Yeah.
And it stars Jared Harris, Stellan Skarsgård of the Skarsgård acting clan.
From Thor. That guy.
And Emily Watson.
Yes.
So Jared Harris plays...
Legasov. Yeah.
Si Stellan Skarsgård plays Sherbina. And Emily Watson plays Komyov.
Good luck with the pronunciations. I'm gonna refer to them by the actors' names. It's hard to pronounce Russian.
They're all comrades as Soviet shows go. And Emily Watson, si Komyok pala. Si Komyok is actually not a real life person, but an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Wow, big word. Amalgamation of several scientists who were involved with the rehabilitation of Chernobyl.
Yeah.
So first reactions to the show, of course.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, no. What I love about how Chernobyl is structured as a miniseries is that first episode, it's all the disaster, and it sucks you in instantly. And
I was so like scared, like
yeah, diba?
Not because of what happened, but in the beginning, I was like, is this the sort of thing na papanoorin ko? Kasi hindi naman ako mahilig sa mga like, and not necessarily historical stuff, but like science and stuff like that. But obviously, it goes way beyond the science and the nuclear thing because it's transcendent, and that's the scary part of it.
Yeah, but that first episode kasi is so effective because they do, like, say Johan Rek really films it like a horror movie, but it's not filmed in like, it's not exploitative. It doesn't show these people suffering, and it doesn't turn it into like a spectacle. It really sort of shows us the horror of it. There's no jump scares or anything, but you just feel, you feel the hairs at the back of your neck standing up. You feel the goosebumps whenever you hear them say stuff like in 5 years you're gonna die of cancer for sure. Parang I can't believe that's real. It's insane.
You feel like you're actually in the show with the characters.
Yeah. You sort of feel cold when you're there. It's the visual design of it. It's the direction. Yeah.
Iba talaga
and the sound design, like especially like in the first episode, then when you hear things just sort of going wrong in
exploding.
The facility, it's creepy. It's like it's super well done.
And yung pagkagawa din kasi ng sound design, hindi siya yung it's leading you up to the moment.
Tama.
It's just with you at that moment, and it brings you there. I heard this from the podcast na they designed it that way. The sound designer was just there for like the moment, not like a horror movie, for example, that will parang alam mo na
hindi siya biglang tatahimik, and then
parang boom.
Yeah.
Parang yung gaganon lang yung
it's
sound.
Just this droning noise which makes you really uneasy the whole time. So galing, yeah.
And yeah, for me it's the same reaction. It was also very unnerving and scary, aside from the fact that I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
The fact that this happened and it was real life makes it even like worse. Kasi what happened was an RBK.
Yes, yeah.
An
if I'm not mistaken,
reactor exploded, and nobody knew it was gonna happen, and nobody could figure out why it exploded. Like in the beginning, they were also hesitant. No, that couldn't have exploded. It can't explode.
They kept saying, we did everything right. Like they're just following protocol, and then
did they?
Yeah, through the episodes, you discover like maybe
they
not.
Didn't.
Yeah. Oh, what I wanted to point out also nga pala is that
why am I speaking in a Batman voice?
It makes you think a lot about how other like disaster movies or shows like that, they, especially mga Hollywood produced, they're very parang nagiging action movie na sila when you think of Day After Tomorrow, 2012, all that stuff. And I feel like this is one of the only times I've seen a disaster film / show really treat it like this human tragedy. It's not about the explosions or anything. It's about like the effects of it on the people and how actions of people caused it as well. So magaling, like, yeah.
And you'd see it through multiple perspectives. Merong civilians.
Yes.
Si Lyudmila. That's the wife of a firefighter.
Yeah. I only know them by the actors talaga. Si Barry Kogan, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The young Soviet guy who's recruited to kill animals that are contaminated.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite parts of the show is the fact that there are these little side stories that they don't even continue like through multiple episodes. They just sort of happen.
They're self-contained,
but they're so heartbreaking, and they really add to another side of sort of the whole thing. So yeah.
So you see that there, the civilians, yung people were just dragged into it.
Yeah.
They didn't even know about radiation that much.
Yeah.
And majority of them died because they went on a bridge. It's called the Death Bridge yata right now. They went on a bridge and they were watching.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They were watching.
They just were watching the
Kasi may glowing
fire.
light.
Yeah, they were watching.
And they were
the fire.
like, "Wow, this is amazing."
And then they died. It's
and
just
then
like
they
what
died.
Yeah.
And Lyudmila was kind of the one na parang, I don't think we should be going there. I'm gonna avoid this. And then may baby pa. Sobrang nakaka.
Yeah.
Ano talaga.
And even just like the miners who were recruited to dig a tunnel, or the ones who were on the roof, just who had 90 seconds to throw the graphite off the roof. Parang, like, it's super visceral. That's
and
the
it's
word
hard
for
to
it.
believe all this happened in real life.
Yeah, it's you go back to, you keep thinking like, how could this have happened? And then you realize like it happened.
It actually did. Nobody knew, and they had to deal with it. Arguably, not arguably, but like evidently, sobrang hirap na pinagdaan nila para masolve yung problema dahil sa lahat ng mga gobyerno. Tagalog na talaga.
No, you know you're angry when you code switch, but yeah.
Pero yun, of course, people really sacrifice themselves, and by the end of the show, they'd show, as with any like the dramatization of a real life event, papakita nila, okay, this is what happened to this character. And Emil was telling me via Facebook Messenger na he just felt like he was gonna curl up in a ball.
Yeah,
because of that.
I mean, it's hard to process kasi at this point, it's not the kind of true story film / series where may resolution sa dulo. Because
it's history.
I mean, they managed to contain Chernobyl to an extent, but they didn't win, quote unquote, because the damage that occurred is there forever. So it's this tragedy that we have to live with.
And until this day, up to today,
we're all to an extent inhaling some of this toxin because it's in the air now, like forever.
Because Pripyat is still highly radioactive.
Yeah, you can't go there.
You can. Influencers have gone there.
I was just about to. I mean, you shouldn't go there because, I mean, if you want to die of cancer in 5 years, I mean, sure.
I mean, I think it's safe to, because of the show, the tourism in that area has spiked up.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to take precautions. But
it's like dark tourist on Netflix.
Yeah, but you see pictures of Instagram influencers who have like their clothes off and stuff.
That's so dumb, can I just say? As in, naka-bikini pa yung isa, tapos tinanggal na yung suit niya.
I mean, they're here for a good time, not a long time.
And they are there for that reason, and of course, they're gonna suffer the consequences, probably.
Yeah.
Then they watch the show.
I mean, maybe they're aware of that. Maybe they're like, you know what,
YOLO.
The planet might die in like the next 15 years, so
might as well. I mean, I think I'd actually like to visit. I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I don't know how safe it is for me to visit that place, but I've been to Anne Frank's house, and that was so moving, and that was so. I don't know how.
Okay, but I think that's different because like I would never go to Chernobyl just because I feel like I would even before getting there I feel like I would throw up or something just knowing
that you're going to a radioactive place.
Yeah, and like seeing what it did to some like that firefighter yung parang 25 years old who had like all his skin sort of just come off in like the second episode or something.
Si Toptonov.
I like how you know these names.
Si Toptonov was one of the engineers.
Yeah, that's
and
right,
it was revealed in the show. So again, I guess you're in too deep now, but this is kind of spoiler heavy.
Oh yeah, well I mean it's history, it's fact. I mean,
but like the actual quote unquote characters.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you haven't yet, pause and watch Chernobyl. It's just 5 episodes. If you'd like, listen to their Chernobyl podcast. It's also great. And back to the topic. Toptonov was revealed as a 25-year-old nuclear engineer who was just on the job for 4 months. So that's in itself crazy enough na parang yung mga top engineers niya sa loob ng nuclear plant, 25 years old lang na 4 months on the job to create such a test that would essentially harm the whole of Europe and the world if they hadn't contained it.
And it's heartbreaking also to think na like the reason why I was so upset at the fact that they have this huge dangerous nuclear reactor that they clearly didn't really know how to manage. And the only reason why like it was built is because like Cold War siya. So they're competing against America and like trying to develop weapons ahead of the other country, and look what happened. Parang, I mean, it's so easy to, I feel like it'd be so easy to point at Soviet Russia and say, oh, this is just a Soviet Russia problem. But it's not there. Like it goes to a sort of a universal thing about how governments and bureaucrats will
statecraft.
Yeah,
in the words of the show.
Yeah, like will just sort of hide things talaga from the public just to gain some sort of tactical advantage over an enemy. Parang, and then that, but in the end, like everyone ends up suffering more. So
and now we're getting to the real tea of this episode. Kasi the show poses the question: what is the cost of lies?
Yeah, that's on the poster. Yeah, that's like the main.
And that's the first episode as well. And
I mean,
true enough, the cost of lies are millions of lives.
Yeah,
that rhymes.
Hooray, it rhymes. But yeah, I mean, it makes you think about like all the climate change stuff happening now, and like the fact that there's still climate change deniers also. Parang, why not take the precaution, right? Like, if scientists the world over are telling us that, hey, at a certain point we're not going to be able to save the earth anymore, like, why would you decide to hold on to your, like, if you're a business, like if you're the owner of like a massive corporation that puts greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, like, why would you hold on to your wealth instead of like giving the planet a chance to be alive? I mean, I know the answer is like greed and whatever, but that, like, on a human level, it's like, why wouldn't you want to help everyone stay alive? Like,
I mean, it's gonna affect you
exactly
anyway.
In the end, like, your money is gonna mean nothing. So
and yun nga, what's very amazing about this show was that even though it was written before the 2016 American elections, it's very timely and relevant to the political climate today, because we experience a lot of fake news. And we feel it's a conspiracy, but we feel that governments, not just in the Philippines, are, you know, ang dami ng tinatago for the sake of public image, because parang getting down to it, it's public image that matters to them more than the lives of the millions of Filipinos who are suffering, or the millions of immigrants in America who are experiencing hatred just because they come from a different place.
You would think that, I mean, everyone knew about Chernobyl, like, and it's part of, you know, in a way, like Chernobyl itself, not just the show but the event is part of pop culture now. Like there are a lot of horror movies set in Russia that have to do with like Chernobyl, like radiation turning people into monsters or whatever. But you would think that after this happened, people would be like, oh, okay, this is like literally the worst that could happen. We should stop lying to the people. And yet it still happens. So I don't know what to say about that.
Well, I was listening to the podcast again, and the Craig Mazin was saying, he was like, okay, sometimes it is necessary to lie, he realized, but to what extent do lies can lies like affect you? Because to quote the show, this I'm not gonna quote like one of the great quotes from the fifth episode, but here's just one of the quotes there. Na, every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Sooner or later, that debt is paid. And true enough, I mean, eventually everything just comes to light. People come out and tell you that this is the real deal, this is the tea, and you know, good luck to those people who just live in a cascade of lies, or in that show, House of Lies. May ganun ba, House of Lies?
There is a show. It's a comedy.
Iba pala.
Yeah, House of Cards yung inisip.
House of Cards yung presidential something.
Yeah.
Pero House of Lies is a different thing. But you get what I mean.
Yes,
House of Lies.
I get what you mean. Speaking of that quote, like, kudos also, since we forgot to mention that the fact that all the actors are so good. Like,
they were like, amazing.
What I love, especially about Jared Harris and Stellan Skarsgård, hindi showy yung performances nila eh. Like, it's not, again, going with sort of the approach that the director had to the material talaga. It's not, they're not trying to make a spectacle out of anything. Like, there are speeches and outbursts in the show, but they're not like again, yung mga Hollywood moments na you're supposed to find them entertaining. Like, the performances are very subdued, but at the same time, ramdam mo pa rin yung emotion nila, especially at the 5th episode. It's like you feel everything suddenly, like you feel the weight on the shoulders talaga, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's good. I love the fact that they approached it in a grounded, realistic way.
And like I knew because of the credits and like all the material going out in the internet that Stellan Skarsgård was there, but I didn't even realize he was Sherbina until like the 2nd episode. He looks so different.
Yun nga, and like his accent is a little bit different than what we're used to. Although on the topic of accents, like if there's any like little things, because I don't think it's a perfect miniseries. I think there are bits and pieces there that I would have wanted to see more of. But
such as,
well, I mean, I've like with regard to like my critiques for Chernobyl, like on one, like I have a valid critique and I have like a just small thing that I can forgive, but it's just kind of weird.
Go ahead.
The valid critique is that I feel like there are human stories in that they hint at that I feel like could have been told more. Like I feel like there's room there to really explore a little bit more how it affected like just normal people talaga, not necessarily people who were working on the site, but how did this affect like civilians working living just like kilometers away. Like it shows them getting into buses and stuff, but not much more. So that's just like a suggestion that I wish could have been.
Maybe they could come up with a series like stories of Chernobyl.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't mind
because I think there are a lot of deleted scenes.
Oh, okay.
Listening to the podcast, they talk about a lot of the deleted scenes.
Okay.
And parang one of them is a backstory to Dyatlov, who is sort of the cause of it all.
Yeah, I'd love to know more about him because like what does he think?
I think yun nga, dun sa story yata in real life, Dyatlov was already part of a first nuclear accident that affected not him but his kid.
Oh my god.
And his kid died of leukemia because of that. Pero I think it couldn't like blend in with the rest of the scenes.
Yeah, I can see why.
And there's even more about Akimov or something. I don't know. Okay. There's a lot of characters in this movie. In this series.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's my valid critique. My self-proclaimed valid critique. The other one is that everyone in this show is British for some reason. And it's
they intentionally did that.
Did they say why? Why?
They said na we didn't wanna have this Russian accent na magiging ano na lang, patawa na lang siya or magiging... Well, because Russian accents typically on shows are just like just for laughs or for like the caricature.
Well, ako kasi like if that's really the reason, I still disagree with it because I feel like there have been enough American productions with Russian characters played by Russian actors, and like for me it makes a difference. Like I think the most prominent example is this show called The Americans, which is about Russian spies. The main actors are American, but there's a huge part of the cast na Russian actors talaga, and they mostly speak Russian throughout that show.
You're saying it's not really an excuse
for me,
since you've seen that show.
Yeah, and I think even more so here because this is such a big part of their history na, and I feel like it would have, for me at least, I would have. It didn't bother me to the point that I was distracted till episode 5, di naman. But like, I feel like it would have still been better if these were actual Russian actors, because there are a lot of actors out there who can do it. So yeah, for me, I don't know, but yeah, don't hate me. I still love the series. Definitely, like it's for me.
So lalabas na si Zoya the Destroyer dito.
Oh my god! Thank you. I love Glow.
I love Glow.
Absolutely the best.
Listen to that. Watch that on Netflix. Season 3 is coming out.
Oh my god! I'm so
soon.
Excited. Oh wait, no, I just wanted to say that because I've been watching a lot of TV the past 2 years, but this year what's been interesting for me is that with the end of Game of Thrones kasi, I think for me Game of Thrones was like the last prestige drama to end, like in the era of Mad Men and Breaking Bad and The Americans and stuff like that.
So Game of Thrones Game
of Thrones is like the last one to go. And now the most interesting stuff that's happening on TV, for me at least, is these half-hour comedy dramas like Fleabag, Better Things.
You
have to watch Fleabag.
I'm gonna get there because I just finished Chernobyl.
Oh yeah. But I think post Game of Thrones, networks are sort of struggling a little bit with their hour-long dramas, but Chernobyl is probably the best one that I've seen this year, and it like because if I had to make like a top 15 right now of shows that I've seen so far, most of them are half-hour comedy dramas, but Chernobyl is like up there as the lone like hour-long drama. That
and it's
really
easier
love.
to binge kasi the shorter ones.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's always been my problem. Like, I want to try watching Supernatural, but it's like an hour long and
like,
14 seasons long. Same as Grey's Anatomy. I don't know how my 13-year-old sister was able to watch all 13 seasons.
Tell her to study. Joke lang.
Nakikinig siya ngayon.
Oh my God,
hello,
I'm sorry, Cholo's sister. Sorry.
They love, my sisters love Grey's Anatomy so much. So I'm kind of like curious about what it is.
I'm not fan.
So yun, as you were saying earlier, this is such a tragic thing, but it was done so beautifully.
Yeah.
And that's the irony of it all. Like, at the end of it, I kind of wanted to clap alone in my room, but at the same time, parang I can't also because
Sakit sa puso eh.
Why would you clap for all this hurt and radiation and everything? And step up, everyone. I mean, it's the world we live in is so hard right now, and we must continue to speak up and take action. I always say this in my podcast now. I don't know why. I mean, of course I know why, but we know the enemy of the podcast. Just kidding. And speaking of enemies, so as a very quote-unquote Soviet thing, Russian TV is gonna air its own patriotic retelling of the Chernobyl story.
Of course.
Kasi they're saying na, of course, the American produced
propaganda daw siya.
It's a propaganda and it didn't really happen. And this NTV's Chernobyl will be more of a fictional take on Chernobyl, and it will show that there's some American CIA agent that was the cause of Chernobyl.
Okay. I mean, go off, I guess.
I don't know if I'm gonna watch that. I'm curious to see what it is.
I mean, I don't even think it'll be shown. It might not be shown outside Russia. I don't know.
The internet is
That's
there
true,
for a reason.
but I mean, nah, we good. It's okay.
And aside from that, I'm just gonna say that. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh well, I'll add that. Because this, I feel like with a lot of true story shows and movies and stuff, there's always going to be a backlash from
whoever's being portrayed.
Yeah. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's revealing injustice. The people who are portrayed as guilty always seem to try and fire back. So like,
I was in the toilet. That's what the Atlov said in his trial.
Yeah, that's right. But
he's the guy who was kind of the cause of it all. And he was like, I didn't do that. I was in the toilet while my people were doing it. And everyone's like, nakakagalit talaga. As in, every time these statesmen would do really bad decisions just for their image, I would be like, ugh.
Yeah. Speaking of getting mad though, I don't know if you've seen this, but the other hour-long drama that I love from this year is on Netflix. It's called When They See Us.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I mean, not love, but I'm very interested.
It's only 4 episodes long. It's about the Central Park 5, the 5 boys who were wrongfully convicted for the assault and rape.
Exonerated 5, they want to be called now.
Oh yeah, the Exonerated 5. That's right. Sorry. But yeah. And ever since that series came out, the people who were responsible for putting them in jail have lost their jobs. They're being investigated again. So, and now they're angry and saying, "Parang this series misrepresented us." But
again, what is the cost of life?
Yeah, exactly.
Back to Chernobyl. And I was saying kanina na the Chernobyl incident is actually, Gorbachev said, parang one of the reasons why the Soviet Union disbanded in the first place. Kasi yun nga, this happened.
I mean, it's
in a global scale.
Yeah, it's such a major F up. It's just like you can't do anything after that anymore.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And that is why you should watch Chernobyl. It's amazing. Not super amazing according to Emily.
Hey, I love it.
I mean, not everything is super amazing.
I just like being well-rounded and trying to explore areas where things can maybe improve, but I love it.
Of course, I'm the same. And
yes.
my friends judge me for that. Parang, you're so critical naman.
Come on. We still love
and
it.
that is why we have this show
Yes.
and minisodes, because we can talk about it without being judged.
They're gonna judge us after they listen. It's
Hello,
okay.
friends.
Yeah, whatever. It's okay.
So, may pop stop ka pa ba for this episode?
Oh, I think I exhausted my... Well, since I mentioned it just now, please also watch When They See Us on Netflix, which is directed and co-written by Ava DuVernay, who did Selma, she did 13th. So she's a great example of an artist using her art as protest, and like her art is actually creating real change in the real world. So it's also very hard to watch, extremely emotional. You will feel like angry crying throughout the entire thing, but it's great. So.
And HBO, I'm gonna say Big Little Lies season 2 just started. And Meryl.
Oh yeah,
Naging Tagalog na Meryl Streep.
Yes, Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep is...
She's obviously...
Meryl Streep, amazing.
Yeah, she's gonna win an Emmy, obviously.
She is stirring the pot real good. She is serving all the tea right now. And the second episode just came out today. I'm about to watch it.
Cool.
And wow. Even the cast themselves were like... Si Reese Witherspoon na yan, saka si Nicole Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård and Shailene Woodley. They were all raving about how great Meryl Streep is. I'm sure I would too if I knew Meryl Streep personally.
Let's have her on the show.
Miss Meryl Streep,
if you're listening,
please do come to the show. We'd love to have you on here. That would be amazing. I wonder how we'd feel. We'd be quiet.
I mean, there would be hundreds of people outside this room and this building, for sure.
We'd probably have made it that far to have Meryl Streep on our show.
In this humble little recording station.
But let us dream big. Meryl Streep for popcorn.
Hashtag Meryl Streep 2020.
So that is it for our Popcorn Pop Bite minisode number 5 on the Chernobyl TV show from HBO. We should go watch that wherever HBO is being streamed. Syempre hindi illegally, pero we never know. But we're not gonna promote that here.
You'll find a way.
But thank you so much, Emil, again for joining me as always. I'm gonna be so sad you're gonna be away for 3 weeks.
Yeah, Cebu, but
and you won't be able to join us for our next 3 episodes at the very least.
It's okay.
He'll be back.
I'll be back, friends.
Soon you'll see. You'll remember.
Thank you.
You belong to.
Thank you.
Not me, but
thank you, London.
Thank you, LMM. He's gonna be in the Heights movie just as a popcorn here.
I thought you were gonna say he's gonna be on the show. I was
he's gonna be on the show.
No.
So those are our dream guests.
Yes.
Meryl Streep, LMM, Carly Rae,
Saint Vincent,
Taylor Swift, everyone.
Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We can just go on and on, just talking about our dream guests. But of course, this has been your minisode. You can listen to all minisodes and all episodes of Popcorn, the main show, on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM every Thursday and on Facebook Live at 4 p.m. And of course, every 6 p.m. after the live broadcast, we upload all our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and everywhere that podcasts are heard. If you are listening to Apple Podcasts, please do rate us so we can get to the charts and get to Meryl Streep. And please follow us so we can listen to more episodes and minisodes of Popcorn and Pop Bites. And of course, you can follow the Popcorn accounts on Twitter and Instagram at Popcorn with Cholo. That's Popcorn W Cholo. And Emil, would you like to plug your greatness on Twitter?
Oh God. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Emilio Filena. EMILHOFILENA. Yes.
Follow him. Amazing tweets. I live. And of course, my handles are at CC Sediaren. That's on Facebook. My Facebook like page. You can also get updates from there. Instagram, Twitter. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us for this minisode. And see you all next week for our main show. Goodbye.
Goodbye.